राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे, जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा, हरे नाम संकीर्तन की जय, निताय गो प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। जो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राज का जरा स्तोत्र शतश्री श्रीमद् जय भक्त वेदांत स्वामी गोपाद की जय, जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राज का जरा स्तोत्र शतश्री श्रीमद् जय भक्त सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी गोपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, नमाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय, ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवति मायापुर धाम की जय, श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, गंगा यमुना की जय, भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, निताय गो प्रेमानंदे हरे हरि बोल। अल्लोरीश्वर सिंबुल हरे कृष्ण, अल्लोरीश्वर सिंबुल हरे कृष्ण, अल्लोरीश्वर सिंबुल हरे कृष्ण, अल्लोरीश्वर सिंबुल हरे कृष्ण, अल्लोरीश श्री गुरु गौरांग गोपाल जय। ओम विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निधनाम नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रजान जय सुनो पंचाच देवस्थान जय पाद की जय। Thank you very much for joining. Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. verse number 10 to 14 or 15 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritram Jeva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayan Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhakti Verse number 10. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma virakshitam Paryaptam tu idam vitesham balam bhima virakshitam Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma virakshitam Paryaptam tu idam vitesham balam bhima virakshitam Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma virakshitam Paryaptam tu idam vitesham balam bhima virakshitam Aparyaptam, immeasurable. That asmakam of ours, balam, strength, Bhishma, by grandfather Bhishma, Abhirakshitam, perfectly protected, Paryaptam, limited, Tu, but Idam, all this, Etesham, of the Pandavas, Balam, strength, Bhima, by Bhima, Abhirakshitam, carefully protected. Translation by Divine C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Gopal Vijay. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas carefully protected by Bhima is limited. Repeat. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by the grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas carefully protected by Bhima is limited. Verse number 11. Ayane cha sarveshu yata bhagam avastitaah Bhishmam eva virakshanto bhavanta sarva eva hi Ayane cha sarveshu yata bhagam avastitaah Bhishmam eva virakshanto bhavanta sarva eva hi Ayane cha sarveshu yata bhagam avastitaah Bhishmam eva virakshanto bhavanta sarva eva hi Ayaneshu, in the strategic points, cha also, sarveshu, everywhere, yatha bhagam, as differently arranged, avastitaha, situated, Bhishmam, at the grandfather Bhishma, eva, certainly, abhirakshantu, should give support, bhavanta, you, sarve, all, respectively, eva, he, certainly. Translation by Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Vijay. All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Repeat. All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Verse number 12. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vruddha pitamaha simhanadam vinadyocchay Shankam dadma pradhapavan Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vruddha pitamaha simhanadam vinadyocchay Shankam dadma pradhapavan Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vruddha pitamaha simhanadam vinadyocchay Shankam dadma pradhapavan Tasya is sanjanayan, increasing, harsham, cheerfulness Kuru Vruddha, the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, Bhishma, Pitamaha, the grandfather, Simhanadam, roaring sound like that of a lion, Vinadya, vibrating, Uchchaihi, very loudly, Sankam, conch shell, Dadmo, blue, Pratapavan, the valiant. Translation by Sri Prabhupada. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell really loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana a joy. Repeat. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like a roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Verse number 13. तथा शङ्काश्च वीर्यश्च पनवनाकगो मुखास् हासैवाभ्यहन्यन्त स शब्दस्तु मूलोऽभवत् तथा शङ्काश्च वीर्यश्च पनवनाकगो मुखास् हासैवाभ्यहन्यन्त स शब्दस्तु मूलोऽभवत् तथा शङ्काश्च वीर्यश्च पनवनाकगो मुखास् हासैवाभ्यहन्यन्त स शब्दस्तु मूलोऽभवत् Tada thereafter, Sanka, Kanchal, Cha, also Beria, large drums, Cha, and Panavanaka, small drums and kettle drums, Gomukha, horns, Sasa, all of a sudden, Eva, certainly, Abhyahanyanta, were simultaneously sounded. Sa, that Shabda, combined sound, Tumula, tumultuous, above became. Translation by Sri Prabhupada. After that, the conch shell, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. But after that, conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Verse number 14. That was the last verse. Tata tata sveतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधव पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रददत् मधुः तथा श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधव पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रददत् मधुः तथा thereafter Svetai with white I.A. horses, Yukte being yoked, Mahati in a great, Shandane chariot, Stitau situated, Madhava, Krishna the husband of the goddess of fortune, Pandava, Arjuna the son of Pandu, Cha also, Eva certainly, Divyo transcendental, very important word, Divyo transcendental, Sankau, conch shells, Pradadad Madhu sounded, translation by Sri Prabhupada. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed in a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Little bit on the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed in a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. We'll try to understand this. Om Ajnanatamrandasya Gnananjanasalakaya Chakshurumiritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaः. मूकं करोति वाचालं भङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दयतात् परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। रूप गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। So, reading from, we are trying to understand the verses Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So we are continuing from verse number 10 today, as we covered last week. So basically this chapter is observing the armies on the battlefield and also called Shainya Darshan, Arjuna Vishada Yoga or lamentation, as Vaisampayana, disciple of Vyasadeva, is describing to Maharaj Janmejaya. And we described that 1 to 27 is preparation for war, and within that there are 3 sections, 1 to 13 preparing for battle, and today we are finishing that and then entering the second section, 14 to 20 the signs of victory, first verse we are covering, then 21 to 27 is Bhakta Vatsal, and then 28 to 46 is Arjuna's doubts or bewildered speech of Arjuna, or Arjuna falling into Maya, or Arjuna giving various reasons for not fighting. So these are the various sections. Now today's verse is 10, preparing for battle. Up to 10 to 14 today we will be discussing. So first verse where it is mentioned about Duryodhana's further characteristic we are seeing in this verse. Aparyaptam Bhishmam Evaviraksantam Paryaptam Idam Etesham Bhimam Aviraksantam. So where he is comparing, especially Duryodhana, Aparyaptam Tad Asmakam Balam Bhishma Virakshitam Paryaptam Tu Itam Etesham Balam Bhima Virakshitam. Our strength is immeasurable. We are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Bhishma is on Kaurava side. So Duryodhana is thinking that we'll win the war greatly. It's already ascertained that we'll win because Bhishma Pitama is there, Dronacharya is there. They didn't say anything when Draupadi was disrobed. So that's the thinking Duryodhana had. And that's why he's comparing. Bhishma is there, so that's why our strength is immeasurable. Pandavas have nothing, no one, not much. Bhima is nothing, is considered fig in front of Bhishma Dev. Whereas strength of the Pandava carefully protected by Bhima is limited. So where it indicates this kind of understanding of Duryodhana is aggression, the misuse of power, the proud of military strength, not following. So all these points comes into the picture. Not following according to the tenets of the Vedic injunction. So kings cannot do whatever they like, just like Jarasandha. Misuse of the independence. Jarasandha was a right. He fought 17 times to Lord Krishna. 17 times, again and again. So not only that, when he was fighting also against so many people he was fighting, and then he brought all of them and imprisoned almost thousands of kings, thousands of kings, and then so all of them. The one day they have come, one of the messenger come and described about the problem. So where it is described that one day soon after Krishna had received the news of opening of Mayasabha, a stranger arrived at Sudharma hall. Krishna gave his permission to enter and he stepped forward with folded palms. The man introduced himself as a king from a distant territory, one that Jarasandha had conquered. He explained how the Magadha king had become more and more aggressive, how he imprisoned thousands of kings he conquered, and how he kept them in a wretched condition until he was ready to kill them. They are all worshippers of Kala Bhairava, Kali, Durga Devi. So Ravana and he is here also, Jarasandha also. Very aggressive. And how he kept them in the wretched condition until he was ready to kill them. He had managed to escape and has come as a messenger on the other king's behalf. O Krishna, O unlimited one, we beg you to deliver us from our miserable condition. Jarasandha is as powerful as 10,000 elephants. He has therefore been able to imprison us, just as a lion captures a flock of sheep. You are the most powerful person and are always kindly disposed to those who seek your shelter. Therefore, please act for our good fortune. Exactly at the time Narada Muni comes, giving instruction that Yudhishthira Maharaj want to perform Rajasuya sacrifice. So both things can be resolved in one shot. And Lord Krishna asks, what do you think, Uddhava, what we should do, how we can resolve both the things? Uddhava instructs, yes, by going to Rajasuya sacrifice on the way, and anyway, Rajasuya sacrifice means you have to the supremacy of his position as a Yudhishthira Maharaj. So that means you have to, if anybody objecting, then you have to fight. So in that way, anyway, we have to fight. So we'll go as a disguise as a Brahmanas and ask to fight with Jarasandha, and Bhima can fight, and when you are there, Bhima would be able to kill Jarasandha. In this way, so and then Prabhupada explains that this misuse of the independence, this aggression, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana misusing the independence, proud of their military strength, not following any, even many advices are being given, but still they don't want to follow, and it's aggression. And they have tried the aggressor. That's the 6 kinds of aggression has been explained later on in this chapter only, where they use all kinds of things to kill Pandavas. So aggressions are already there. Where Lord Krishna is explaining that. So we as some order of servants, there are Chanakya Prabhupada quotes about Chanakya Pandit. 4 things should be avoided. Any subordinate who does not carry the order of the master is dangerous. And one whose wife becomes polluted if she's attracted to somebody else more than husband. It's called polluted, and she's should not be. Also, four things should be avoided: unfaithful wife, duplicitous person. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana is a duplicitous character is there, and a cheating friend, and a servant disobeying order, and a snake within the room. All these things are causes of misfortune, cause death at any time. They can do anything. There are many instances. So these moral instructions are very nice, given by Chanakya Pandit. All living entity who disobeys the order of Krishna, Sarva Dharman, that is the principle. Every living entity must be obedient to Krishna. But by the misuse of his little independence, if he does not obey the order of Krishna, immediately becomes arrested by Maya. So that's what is happening here. Lord Krishna tried his best to save, but still Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra was vehement, doesn't want to follow any orders, anybody's instruction. They want to be aggressive, they want to go against the tenets of the Shastra. That's why Prabhupada quotes this Chanakya Pandit. Dusta bharya satam mitram भृत्यश्च उत्तरदायक सा सर्पे च गृहवासो मृत्युरेव न संशयः. Any subordinate who does not carry the master is dangerous, and yeah, so yeah, that's why Krishna is ordering, because he is supreme. Any superior personality can order like that, but unfortunately we misuse. We don't carry out the order. So the superior. This is a misuse of the independence, because our duty is Jivir Surupe Nityar Krishnadas. One must be servant of Krishna. So that is the main instruction from this verse. And we will see that so in Prahlad Maharaj's instruction also. Manye Dhana Vajan Rupa Tapasruta Ujasteja Prabhava Balabuddhi Paurusha Yoga Na Aradhanaya Parasya Pumso Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayotapaya. Prahlad Maharaj instructing that we could have so much great money, dhana, great opulence of money, so much money, but still in front of the Supreme Lord, what strength? Nothing, insignificant. You are going to rich person, very rich person, and you are showing your power. How a little bit. So, what is the use of showing the power in front of a very rich person? Same way, when in front of Supreme Lord, like this whole continent, all the countries and continent, everything is like a speck, a spot on at one point. What power we may have, what strength we may have, what quality. Manye Dana Abhijana, we may have popularity, or Rupa, Srutaojas, or scholar, beauty, strength, fame, name. Manye Rupa Dana Tapas, Srutaojas, Teja Prabhava, influence, power, valor, Bala Buddhi, Bala, strength, Buddhi, intelligence, Paurush, but none of these can satisfy the Supreme Lord. So none of this. Duryodhana tried. He wanted to offer big feast. Duryodhana, actually Lord Krishna didn't even take. Rather, he went to Vidura's home and ate. So that's why it is Bhavagrahi Janardana. Lord doesn't need uh, our offering, because everything is coming from him. He doesn't need anything. And in the previous verse, we already see that. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning, and Lord Krishna is mentioning in other places in Upanishads and in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ekala Iswara Arasabha Bhrutya. Everybody is servant of Krishna, including all, even the demigods, even Lord Balaram is also serving. And sometimes he appears as younger brother as Lakshmana, sometimes his elder brother as Lord Balaram. So everybody is servant of the Lord Krishna. Ekala Isware Krishna Arasabha Bhrutya. So that's it is very important to understand and follow these points. And previous verse, that's why it's already mentioned. Anyej Bhavasura Mad De Tekta Jivita. That means they have come to lay down their lives. It's already foretelling that none of them will be returning. Tektaji is already concluded. So Duryodhana is very much proud of this military strength protected by Bhima. So that's why Bhima already knows. Bhishma already knows. Bhishma, that's why he's giving a joy. That's why he's blowing his conch shell to bring him, to make him happy. Understanding is Duryodhana what he wants to do. He wants to fight. He wants to win. Sit on the throne. So that's why understanding that point. So here, and they're all expert fighters. Nana Shastra Prahana, Sarve Yuddha Visharada. Is thinking that by military strength, by having these expert great archers and great fighters, Adhiratha, Maharatha, they can win. But that's why in the next verse we will see that Lord Krishna is having Divya. When on the Kaurava side, all these conch shells and bugles, everything was played. But then we will see that Divyo Sanko Pradadutmataha, as I mentioned. So Mahati Syamana is the Madhava. Lord Krishna is called Madhava, and we'll come to that. So where it is mentioned, Ayane to Sarvesh Yatha Bhagam Avastha, 10th, 11th verse. So 10th verse is indicating we should not misuse our strength, power. We should not. We should be careful how to utilize things. No, we shouldn't be aggressive. So, and then the 11th verse is describing about how diplomatic behavior and strategic points. Ayanechu sarvesh yatha bhagam avasthita Bhishmam evavi rakshantu bhavanta sarva evahi. All of you now must give full support to grandfather Bhishma. So Duryodhana is acting diplomatic now because he is thinking Dronacharya may think that Bhishma is great. Bhishma is thinking that everybody else is not strong, not needed. Only Bhishma himself is enough. So people may think wrongly, so he may not support. So that's why Duryodhana is bringing now. So he's talking to Dronacharya and others. You have to support. Bhishma is old, so people may attack from different directions. He may be fighting with somebody. So that's why he's talking about strategic points. You make sure you are all situated so that you are fighting and protecting Bhishma there. So his diplomatic behavior. But in diplomatic behavior is not going to work. So cunning and diplomatic kutinati, nishiddhachar, these are things which is to be avoided in spiritual transformation and devotion service. This should be removed. This cannot be there. Diplomatic behavior, cunning behavior, and strategic points. So and always for an intelligent person, always should think about not only positive side, negative side. Upayam chantayet, apayam pragno, apayam chantayet. Not only the positive side, like business when you open, you have to also think negative side of it. If this thing doesn't work out, this particular thing, then how you are going to handle it. So that also you have to think. So that is why Duryodhana wants to make sure negative side is he wants to make sure strategic points are covered by all others. Bhishma is protected from other angles. So that's the point here. That means strategically the planning should be done that Krishna with Krishna in the center. Then we'll be able to protect. So we'll come to that where Arjuna also expressing at the end of when Krishna left the planet, about to leave the planet, and then he left the planet. While coming back, then he saw all these queens and uh, queens of Dwaraka. He couldn't even protect even the small ordinary cowherd boys were taking. He couldn't protect. He couldn't fight. Arjuna, same Gandiva, wielder of Gandiva bow, he couldn't protect. He couldn't even fight with the small cowherd boys at that time. And then Arjuna is expressing all the strength, whatever I had, I was able to do so many things. I was able to win, go to heavenly planet, all this only because of Lord Krishna's mercy. Otherwise, there is no possibility for me to win, for me to get all these things. We'll come to that. So that is the point. So how one should be putting Krishna in the center, Guru and Krishna in the center, and plan everything in life. So that is a strategic point mainly. The strategy should be with Krishna in the center, not independently. And then verse number 12. तस्य संजनयन हर्षम कुरु वृद्ध पितामह सिंहनाद विनद्योच्चे संख्यो तद्व प्रतापवान. And so, without saying a word, just blowing his conch shell, Bhima announced that he would give up his life according to Kshatriya Dharma for Duryodhana. Though victory or defeat was really dependent only on the Lord. So that's what is indicating. Bhishma already knows that what's going to happen because wherever Esham Pakte Pakshe Janardana. So on whose side, whoever side Lord Krishna is there, so that's where the victory is. So obviously Lord Krishna is there on Pandava's side, so obviously their victory. So that already, and in this verse also it's a Kshatriya spirit because Bhishma Pitama. Nowadays the only soldiers go, the leaders they stay back. But those days it is not like that. Everybody goes, even the leaders, the old or the younger. Even the commander in chief, everybody goes for fighting. So Bhishma Pitama was also showing the Kshatriya spirit, Iswara Bhavascha. So which means ruling over others and charitable. These are the symptoms of Kshatriya. And so these four varnas must be there. The guidance should be taken. Brahmana should guide the Kshatriya, Kshatriya should guide the Vaishyas, Vaishyas should employ Sudras. So in this way, everything there is a harmony. So this is how Chaturvarna Maya Srashtam Guna Karma Vibhagam. That is the instruction here. How one should have this valor as Kshatriya spirit as Bhishma Pitama is showing here. But Iswar Bhavas, but depend on the Lord. So and follow the injunctions guided by the Brahmanas. But Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra is not following that order. Next verse number 13. Tata Sankascha Veryascha Panavranaka Gomuka Sahasaiva Abhyahanyanta Sa Sabdast Mulo Bhava. After that, conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous to infuse people to fight the war. So all these sounds and everything was created, some entertainment, some making them enthusiastic to fight, go and fight, go ahead and fight. So sometimes, yeah, we may have that for kirtan. We may have mridanga, kartal, all that. And we may distribute Krishna Prasad. So all these various and worshipping the Lord, offering various things to the Lord. All these things are uh, is important because so that we our mind and intelligence is not completely pure. So that the mind is always going, senses are always dragging in different directions. So all these things are necessary to engage all body, mind, senses in the service of the Lord. अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथार्हम् निर्बन्धे कृष्ण संबंधे युक्त वैराग्यम सिद्ध. So utilizing everything, dovetailing everything in the service of the Lord. Now the verse 14, this is a crucial verse. The verse 14 to 20 is showing signs of victory. One who is diplomatic, one who misuses power, one who doesn't follow the injunctions of Shastra, um, all these principles, one who disobeys, one who doesn't, not guided by the Brahmanas, not following the, guided by the Brahmanas or Shastra, Sadhu and Shastra and Guru, then what will happen? He cannot gain victory. She cannot gain victory. That's what you can see here. तथा श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यान्दने स्थितो माधव पांडवा चैव दिव्यौ शंको प्रददत् मधु. What is Madhava means? And Divya, transcendental. On the Kaurava side, there is nothing transcendental. So, because here Lord Krishna is personally there, Madhava. So, first thing is, the indication is here, no hope for victory, as I mentioned already the point. Enviousness, jealousy, diplomatic behavior, so not guided by the Brahmanas, not following Shastras, injunctions, misuse of power, aggression, so proud of the military strength, all these things are coming into the picture. So then no hope for victory. That is been indicated here. That's the signs of victory for Pandavas are already described in this verse. And because it is transcendental, Lord Krishna and his pure devotees are always transcendental. And the chariot where they are, where Lord Krishna is seated, this chariot is given by Agni. It cannot be burned. Special chariot. And Madhava, and wherever Lord is there, and goddess of fortune is always there. So to say Madhava is used. Goddess of fortune always with the Lord Krishna. Jayastu Panduputranam Esham Pakshe Janardana, as I mentioned. So Arjuna and associates are also equally powerful. Nobody can be associates of Krishna without being very, very much advanced. Just like fire can mix with fire. Similarly, water can mix with water. Similarly, unless one is transcendentally situated, he cannot be associate of Krishna. So we cannot be in fire unless we are fire. We have that fire. We are like iron. Iron has impurities. Iron, when it puts in fire, it gets gradually become red hot iron. So that's why the chanting of the holy name is acts like a fire. Every day, it like a comparison is given like a moon. Also, moon one day from 1 to 15 day, fifth day, Amavasya to Purnami. Gradually, it goes like that. When we chant the holy name of the Lord, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Maha Davag Nirva. It's a great forest fire of this material existence. Unwanted contamination is there in the heart. By simply chanting the holy name in the association of devotees and individually, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavag Nirvapam Sriya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Like the how moon Every day it increases and increases. It fully spreads its effulgence. So like that, the holy name also it enlightens the living entity and completely purifies like a fire. Iron becomes red hot. Iron, fire is as good as fire. So same way in this case also cheto darpana marchanam bhavam mahadavag nirvapanam sreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidya vadu jeevanam आनंदांबुदि वर्धनम प्रतिपदम पूर्णामृता स्वादनम सर्वात्मा आसनपरम परम विजयते श्री कृष्ण संकीर्तन. Every step there will be intense happiness and bliss as long as we follow under the guidance of the spiritual master Guru and Krishna and advanced devotees. So that's why you can see that. So Lord Krishna and his pure devotees, there are this is as good as they are also transcendental. So that's why Prabhupada quotes Narottam Das Thakur, Gaurangera Sangi Gane Nitya Siddha Malimane Jai Jai Brajendra Nandana Pas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna and his associates are all transcendental. All these associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should be known. They are also the same category. Gaurangera Sangi Gane Nitya Siddha Malimane. Nitya Siddha is significant because Nitya Siddha and Nitya Baddha, two kinds of the pure devotees of the Lord are Nitya Siddha. They never get contaminated. They are eternally liberated. So they are jivas, but they are eternally liberated. They never become contaminated. Even if they come to this material world, they come to preach, to distribute the knowledge, to take care of, do the business of Krishna. That is their business. And Nitya Baddha, we are conditioned souls. So we have to get purified and go back to home, back to Godhead. So we are Nitya Baddha, ever conditioned. But Nitya Siddha, they never come in touch with material world, even if at all, if they come also, they'll never forget their position. Now Madhava is used. So because Madhava brings so many things. Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada explains. Tan Madhava Venum Budirayan Vruto Gopair Grandivi Sva Yesho Balanvita Pasun Puraskritya Pasavyam Avishad Vihattu Kama Kusuma Karam Vanam. Thus, desiring to enjoy the pastimes Lord Madhava, sounding his flute, surrounded by cowherd boys who were chanting his glories, accompanied by Lord Baladev, kept the cows before him and entered the Vrindavan forest, which was full of flowers and rich with nourishment for the animals. Sri Sanatana Goswami has explained the various meanings of word Madhava as follows. Madhava normally indicates Lord Krishna to be the Lord who is the consort of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. This name also implies that Lord Krishna descended in the dynasty of Madhu, Akrura. Whenever Akrura is mentioned, descendant of Madhu is mentioned. So Lord Krishna is descending in the dynasty of Madhu. That's also another way. Since the spring season is also known as Madhava, it is understood that as soon as Lord Krishna entered the Vrindavan forest, it automatically exhibited all the opulence of spring. Another meaning. Becoming filled with flowers, breezes, celestial atmosphere. Another reason Lord Krishna is known as Madhava is that he enjoys his pastimes as Madhu, the taste of conjugal love. Lord Krishna would loudly sound his flute as he entered the forest of Sri Vrindavan, thus giving inconceivable bliss to all the residents of his hometown, Vrajadam. These simple pastimes of playfully entering the forest, playing on the flute, so forth, were performed daily in the spiritual land of Vrindavana. So that's why this is being used. Now the Divya, so that's a victory and fortune is with Pandavas. That's been declared here, signs of victory. That's why this section 14 to 20. So that is being declared in this 14th verse. And further we'll see about this transcendental, how Lord Krishna and his devotees are transcendental. That is being described from, we'll see from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, how it is described even in Quran. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversation from Quran itself is described. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Sarvamsi Sarvashtraya Visuddha Nirmala Prema Sarva Rasamaya. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, origin of all incarnations and the source of everything. He is pure transcendental love itself and he is the reservoir of all pleasure. Sakala Sadguna Vrunda Ratna Ratnakara Vidagda Chatura Dhira Rasika Sekara. Krishna is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. He is like a mine of gems. He is expert at everything, very intelligent and sober, and he is the summit of all transcendental humors. Madhura Charitra Krishnera Madhura Vilas Chaturya Vaidagya Kara Yandra Leela Ras. His character is very sweet. His pastimes are melodious. He is expert in intelligence, and thus he enjoys all his pastimes and mellows. Damodar kahi Krishna rasika sekara rasa aswadaka rasamaya kalevara. Damodar Sarup Damodar Goswami said, Krishna is the master of all transcendental mellows and the taster of all transcendental mellows, and his body is composed of transcendental bliss. Prema Maya Vapu Krishna Bhakta Prema Adhina Suddha Preme Rasa Gune Gopika Pravina Gopika Pravina. So Krishna is full of ecstatic love and always subordinate to the love of his devotees. The gopis are very much experienced in pure love and dealings of transcendental mellows. Now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing to Sanatana Goswami the transcendental position of the Lord, as it is mentioned Divya from Quran. This is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went with Balabhadra Bhattacharya and others, Balabhadra Bhattacharya and one more person to Vrindavan. And on the way to Vrindavan, so where where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down unconscious. So that time they are carrying, then they thought these Balabhadra Bhattacharya and others, they are doing something mischief, they are stealing something. So that's why they are caught by the Pathan soldiers. This is in a Muslim border, someplace I forget. So there, this conversation is there. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come back to consciousness, then now discussion is there between the Pathan soldiers about Quran. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is explaining about the transcendental position of the Lord. So from Quran, very very nice pastime. Bhattacharya asi prabhurera dhari vasaila mlecha gana deki Mahaprabhura baya haila. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and made him sit down. Seeing the Muslim soldier, the Lord regained his normal senses. Advaita Brahmavada sei Karila Stapana Tara Sastra Yukte Tare Prabhu Kaila Kandhana. When that person tried to establish that impersonal Brahman concept of the absolute truth on the basis of the Quran, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refuted his argument. Yehi kahila Prabhu sakali kandila uttara na aise muke mahastabda haila. Whatever arguments he put forward, the Lord refuted them all. Finally, the person became stunned and could not speak. Prabhu kahe, Tumara Shastra stape nirviseshe, taha kandi sa visesha stapaye ache seshe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the Quran certainly establishes the impersonalism, but at the end it refutes that impersonalism and establishes the personal God. Tumara Shastra kahi sesha, eka I Ishvara, sarvaishwarya purno tenho syama kalevara. The Quran accepts the fact that ultimately there is only one God. He is full of opulence. His bodily complexion is blackish. Wow. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The revealed scripture of the Muslims is Quran. There is one Muslim sampradaya known as the Sufis. This is in Iraq. You heard, Iran and other places, Sufis. The Sufis accept impersonalism, believing in the oneness of the living entity with the absolute truth. Their supreme slogan is Ana Lahak. The Sufi Sampradaya was certainly derived from Shankaracharya's impersonalists. Sachid Ananda Deha Purna Brahma Swarupa Sarvatma Sarvagna Nitya Sarvadi Swarupa. According to the Quran, Lord has supreme, blissful, transcendental body. He is the absolute truth, all pervading, omniscient, eternal being. He is the origin of everything. This is in Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter number 18, 190 verse onwards. सृष्टि स्थिति प्रलय स्थान्हा हईते हया स्थूल सूक्ष्म जगतेर तेनो समाश्रया. The creation, maintenance, dissolution come from him. He is the original shelter of all gross and subtle cosmic manifestations. Sarva Sreshta Sarva Aradhya Karanera Karana Tandra Bhakte Haya Jivera Samsara Tarana. The Lord is the supreme truth, worshipable by everyone. He is the cause of all causes. By engaging in his devotion service, the living entity is relieved from material existence. This is all from Quran, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking. Further, Mahaprabhu speaking. Tandra seva vina jivera na yaya samsara tanhara charane priti purushartha sara. No conditioned soul can get out of material bondage without serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Love at his lotus feet is the ultimate goal of life. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Muslim scripture, without ibadat, offering prayers at a mosque or elsewhere 5 times daily, namaz, one cannot be successful in life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out that in revealed scripture of the Muslim, the love of Godhead is the ultimate goal. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga are certainly described in the Quran, but ultimately the Quran states that the ultimate goal is the offering of prayers to the Supreme Person. It is called Evadat. Offering prayers is very important. Wow, significant. Because it's the same thing, right? In also Vedas also. There's there's a Pancha Upasana, starting with Ganesha, then Surya, Shakti, Shiva, and then Vishnu comes up. By the time they will not even they by the time they come to the essence of the Vedas, Lord Vishnu is the ultimate point, but by the time they are lost. So that's why it is that is a problem. Here Quran also, here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicates clearly, instructs that in the beginning, yes, there's fruity karma, jnana, all these are mentioned, but ultimate point is mentioned. Lord is transcendental and personal, supreme, Ananda Vigraha, Divya. All these descriptions are given. Um, Further, Mokshadi Ananda Yara Nahi Eka Khana, Purnananda Prapti Tara Tanra Charana Sevana. The happiness of liberation whereby one merges into the Lord's existence cannot even be compared to a fragment of transcendental bliss obtained by the service unto the Lord's lotus feet. Further, कर्म ज्ञान योग आगे करिया स्थापना sabha kandi stape ishvara tanhara sevana. In the Quran, there are descriptions of fruitive activity, speculative knowledge, mystic power, and union with Supreme. But ultimately, all this is refuted and the Lord's personal feature is established along with his devotion service. Wow. तुम्हारा पंडित सवार नाही शास्त्र ज्ञाना पूर्वा अपर विधि मध्य परा बलवान. The scholars of the Quran are not very advanced in knowledge, although there are many methods prescribed. They do not know that the ultimate conclusion should be considered the most powerful. Wow. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is the final conclusion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say all these things are mentioned. There is karma, jnana, yoga, but finally he's talking about bhakti, devotion service, and supreme personal form of the Lord and transcendental position of the Supreme Lord has been mentioned in Quran. What else you need? The proof. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking from so many different angles. So that's why one must engage in. So in this devotion, bhakti stiratara tvayi bhagavan syat daivena phalate divya kishora murti. So dharmartha kama moksha samaya pratiksha. Automatically dharmartha kama moksha will stay at the doorstep by one who is engaged in fixed up devotions. Bhakti stiratara means fixed up. Bhagavan Syad, Daivena Palate Divya Kishora Mukti. Divya Kishora, Sri Shyam Sundar Krishna, Vrajendra Nandan Krishna. Automatically, you can attain Krishna with pure by engaging in devotion service, fixed up devotion service. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, we don't need separately endeavor. Automatically, it will stay at the doorstep. Now, we'll read like Arjuna is expressing himself, how insignificant he is. Initially, he thought he was himself is proud. So of the Gandiva bow, but we can see directly himself is describing about the his position, uh, where yeah, where now Arjuna is describing here. Arjuna said, "O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus, by my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. I have just lost him, whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. Only by his merciful strength was I be able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target, thereby gain the hand of Draupadi. So, yeah, it's all because he could understand. So, further, Arjuna is speaking. Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradeva, along with his demigod associate, thus enable the fire god to devastate the Kanda forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from blazing Kanda forest. And thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid you tributes. This that whole building of that is given by Maya Danava, because Arjuna has given burned the Kanda forest, because and Lord Krishna was about to kill Maya Danava, but Maya Danava taken shelter of Arjuna, his devotees, and Lord Krishna didn't do anything, protected, because he has taken his devotee shelter. And then Mayadana also gave various gifts, not only constructing this big assembly, but he has given a club to Bhima also. Your respectable younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace, Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandha's Maha Bhairava Yajna. I was telling Jarasandha used to worship this Kala Bhairava. But they were thus released. Later they paid tribute to your majesty. It was he whom only loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who dared upon the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrifice ceremony. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes. This is Draupadi Sayam, disrobing, and then what has happened? Only by Lord Krishna's mercy, all these Kauravas were lost. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he simply by accepting remnants of food saved us. By his accepting food, thus the assembly of Munis, while bathing in river, felt sumptuously fed. All the three worlds were also satisfied. So when Lord is satisfied, automatically all others. However, maybe thousands of guests may come, but when Lord is satisfied, they all can be satisfied. It was by his influence only that in a point I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife Bhavani, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus, he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in the same present body, and I was allowed a half elevated seat. When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planet, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradeva, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with Gandiva bow, to kill the demon named Nivata Kavacha. O King, descendant of Ajamida, at the present moment I am barefoot of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. See, Arjuna is regretting. So Arjuna is offering everything back to Lord Krishna understanding. Initially he thought I was a great fighter, but he couldn't even fight with ordinary cohort boys who were taking the queens of Dwaraka. That was a pastime to show, to teach, to remember, to remind Arjuna. Actually, it was only because of Lord Krishna everything was happened. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it. And only by his grace I was able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which are bedecked with jewels that were source of all brilliance. It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who in the battlefield withdraw the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Selya, etc. Their arrangement was expert, more than adequate, but he, Lord Krishna, while going forward, did all this. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Burishrava, Susharma, Selya, Jayadratha, Bahilka, all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Narasimha, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water from my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best man to attain salvation. O King, his jokings and frank talks were pleasing and beautifully decorated with smiles. His addresses unto me as O son of Pratha, O friend, O son of Kuru dynasty, and all such heartiness are now remembered by me, and thus I am overwhelmed. Generally, both of us used to live together and sleep, sit and loiter together, And at the time of advertising oneself for acts of chivalry, sometimes if there were any irregularity, I used to reproach him by saying, "My friend, you are very truthful. Even in those hours when his value was minimized, he, being the Supreme Soul, used to tolerate all those utterings of mine, excusing me exactly as a true friend excuses his true friend, or a father excuses his son. O Emperor, now I am separated from my friend and dearmost well-wisher, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, my heart appears to be void of everything. In his absence, I have been defeated by a number of infidel cowherd men while I was guarding the bodies of all the wives of Krishna." See that is the instruction you can see. Now in the purport, we will see. The important point in this was how it was possible that Arjuna could be defeated by a gang of ignoble cowherd men, and how such mundane cowherd men could touch the bodies of the wives of Lord Krishna, who were under the protection of Arjuna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has justified the contradiction by research in the Vishnu Purana and Brahma Purana. In these Puranas, it is stated that once the fair denizens of heaven pleased Astavakra Muni by their service and were blessed by the Muni to have the Supreme Lord as their husband. Astavakra Muni was covered in 8 joints of his body, and thus he used to move in a peculiar curved manner. The daughters of the demigod could not check their laughter upon seeing the movements of the Muni, and the Muni, being angry at them, cursed them that they would be kidnapped by rogues, even if they would get the Lord as their husband. Later on, the girls again satisfied the Muni by their prayers, and the Muni blessed them that they would regain their husband even after being dropped by the rogues. So, in order to keep the words of the great Muni, the Lord himself kidnapped his wives from the protection of Arjuna. Otherwise, they would have at once vanished from the scene as soon as they were touched by the rogues. Besides that, some of the gopis who prayed to become wives of the Lord returned to their respective positions after their desire was fulfilled. After the departure of Lord Krishna, he wanted all his entourage back to Godhead. They were called back under the different conditions only. So you can understand what has happened here. I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offered their due respect. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter and ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on a barren land. As we discussed more than once, Prabhupada's purport, one should not be puffed up by the borrowed plumes. All energies and powers are derived from the Supreme Source, Lord Krishna, and they act as long as he desires and cease to function as soon as he withdraws. All electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the supreme will of the Lord. Material civilization without the blessing of the Lord is a child's play only. As long as the parents allow the child to play, it is all right. As soon as parents withdraw, the child has to stop. Human civilization and all the activities thereof must be dovetailed with the supreme blessing of the Lord. And without this blessing, all advancement of human civilization is like a decoration and a dead body. It is said that here that dead civilization and its activities are something like clarified butter and ashes, the accumulation of money by a magic wand and sowing of the seeds in a barren land. You can understand. O king, since you have asked me about our friends and relatives in the city of Dwarka, I will inform you that all of them were cursed by Brahmanas, and as a result, they all became intoxicated with wine made of putrefied rice and fought among themselves with sticks, not even recognizing one another. Now all but 4 or 5 of them are dead and gone. Factually, this is all due to the supreme will of the Lord, personality of Godhead. Sometimes people kill one another, and at other times they protect one another. So, in this way, we can understand the unless it is sanctioned by Guru and Krishna, unless they are empowered, authorized. That's why Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. So, otherwise, consequences are severe. That's what we can learn from this angle. Science of victory. So, in this section, beginning with Madhav and Divya Transcendental. So, we can learn from Lord Krishna and Arjuna in this verse. Both their conchals were Divya Transcendental. It is not so from Kaurava's side, even though Bhishma Pitama was great warrior, grandsire of Kurudana, but still it is not mentioned as transcendental. So with that, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Any questions? Anyone else? Any questions? If no questions, we'll stop here.
No question, Prabhu, today.
Okay. Thank you. Andhra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.